right. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to this meeting of the Village of Skokie Zoning Board of Appeals. The Zoning Board of Appeals is created by the statutes of the state of Illinois and by the ordinances of the Village of Skokie for the purpose of granting proper case relief from the strict terms of our zoning ordinances. The decision of this board to either grant or deny relief will be based upon the evidence presented to it and how that evidence is related to the standards for granting relief. All persons who have an interest in a case, either as a petitioner or as a member of the public, either supporting or opposing the petition, or as an independent witness, will be given a chance to speak on the record and to express his or her points of view. The Zoning Board of Appeals is not a court of law, and therefore we do not follow the strict rules of evidence. However, this hearing will be conducted in such a manner as to hear only competent evidence or statements. Questions as to procedure, interpretation, and of the admissibility of evidence or statements will be ruled upon by Corporation Counsel Stu Weiss, and his legal decisions will be binding upon his board. Normally, we hear cases that are variation requests from Skokie zoning ordinances, but tonight we will hear an appeal to an administrative decision, in this particular instance regarding an improved alley, which is also within the purview of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Should it be necessary for the petitioner to request a continuance due to lack of preparation, a case continuation fee of 1/2 of the original application fee is due prior to the rehearing date. This request must be made before any testimony begins. All petitioners must receive a vote of the majority of the zoning board present in order to decide any matter under consideration. Our full complement is 9 members, and tonight's complement is 9 members. Congratulations. Making 5 votes necessary to make a determination on a petition. We have one case tonight, and that will be 2025-08Z. Again, it's an appeal to an administrative decision. In this case, regarding an improved alley, and the location is at 6900 Leclaire Avenue. And before we go into that, I'd like Corporation Counsel Stu Weiss to give us a brief overview of how we will proceed and what we can expect to.
Did you want to do the minutes first, or do you?
No, you.
Them on? Okay.
Yeah, you can go ahead and,
okay,
do your part first.
Hello, everyone. My name is Stu Weiss. I'm with the firm of Elrod & Friedman. We were just appointed as Corporation Counsel at the last board meeting. We're very excited to be here. And tonight,
the white switch.
Where?
There you go. Okay.
All right. Once again, Stu Weiss from the firm of Elrod & Friedman. We were just recently appointed Corporation Counsel. Tonight's hearing is a little bit different, as the chair said, than the types of relief that you normally consider. Tonight is an appeal from an interpretation by the zoning administrator. The zoning administrator had made a determination on how to interpret a provision of the zoning ordinance. That provision will be described in detail, and that interpretation has impacted the plans of a property owner. That property owner has disputed that and is now here before the board asking that the board determine whether that interpretation was correct or an error. And the burden is going to be on the appellant. They are represented tonight by counsel, and they also provided a pretty extensive letter and accompanying materials, all of which have been included in the record for you to take into account. One of the important things tonight is not to consider the plans for the actual property. This is not about the single-family residence that the applicant or the appellant is seeking to build. It's not about whether a driveway should be on Leclaire or what's the other street? Morse. Morse, yeah, thank you. It is about specifically the meaning of the provision and what the meaning of an improved driveway is under our code. So once we begin this, the appellant will have the opportunity to provide a summary of their argument. The zoning administrator will also have an opportunity to explain the basis for their interpretation. The board will have the opportunity to ask questions, and then you will have the opportunity to deliberate. The key thing here is that you are going to be looking at what you believe is the correct interpretation of the meaning of the words given. In that, you can look at the terminology and definitions in the zoning ordinance, the general goals and purposes of the zoning ordinance, the natural meaning of words and accepted usage, the contents and structure of the zoning ordinance. You don't consider this just any provision in its isolation, but you consider it in the context of the zoning code and the zoning ordinance in general. And as cited by the appellant, if there is true ambiguity, that Illinois courts do tend to favor the property owner with regard to a freer use of the of property. However, that's really only if there's an actual if you find that there's actually an ambiguity there. Tonight, different than what you normally do, where you have a final vote after you hear all of the petitioner's testimony, I'm going to ask you to do something a little bit different. I'm going to ask you to come to a consensus and then take a vote not to affirm or deny, but to direct my office to prepare a formal order to affirm or reverse. And what will happen is I will then prepare a formal order, which is going to be similar to like a judge's opinion, which I will bring back in 2 weeks at your meeting on January 21st for you to take a final vote on. The reason that that is important is that this decision is kind of the final stop with the village. This doesn't go up to the village board, and this is an order that could be appealable to circuit court, so we want to make very clear what the decision was and what your basis was. So you will have the opportunity to read that order and opinion, whichever way you go, as part of your packet before your next meeting. I will be present, and we will be able to finalize that at the next meeting, which will be in 2 weeks. That was a lot of talking. That was a long answer to a short question, so sorry about that.
Well, very, very thorough corporation, so we greatly appreciate that. Okay, before we go into that, the nuts and bolts of all that, the chair will go ahead and call the roll. So Commissioner Putras?
Here.
All right, Commissioner Trivedi?
Here.
All right, Commissioner Arden?
Yes.
All right, Commissioner Jacobson?
Here.
Commissioner Worth?
Here.
Commissioner Kirkpatrick?
Here.
Commissioner Salavi, or I'm sorry, Commissioner Pollock? Huh? Wait, no. Let's see, I got my own self screwed up. Strauss? Right.
Here.
Sorry about that. Gotta get rid of these old voting sheets, staff. All right, Commissioner Salavi. All right, and the chair is here. So, we're all present and accounted for. Thank you so much. And in our packet, we have the minutes from our prior meeting, which was on November 19th, where we heard the case 2025-07Z, 7800 Lincoln Avenue. And if everybody, that petitioner's request was approved unanimously, 2 people were absent. So if everybody's had a chance to go over the meeting minutes from November 19th, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes as they are.
I'll move.
All right, Commissioner Worth, motions for the minutes to be approved. Do I hear a quick second?
Second.
All right, Commissioner Jacobson seconds. All in favor, voice vote, please. Aye. Anybody opposed? No? Okay. All right, thank you so much. The minutes are approved. Now we can go ahead and move forward with our case. So, 6900 Leclaire, you'd like staff to go ahead and present?
Yeah, it would be appropriate for staff to just give a very brief introduction to the provision in question and the procedural history of the appeal before Mr. Acosta comes up and speaks.
Okay.
Just the history of the. Just the history of the case.
Yeah, just the how the application, what the provision is that's in question, what the decision was, and then the, when they sent in their request for appeal.
The provision in question is section 118-212C 6 of the Skokie zoning chapter, specifically in the parking section of the code. It regards to location. Access to off-street parking can only be from a public alley. Curb cuts are prohibited unless the lot does not abut a public improved alley. Relief may only be granted for mixed-use, business, or industrial properties. So I've worked with the applicant on and off since I believe it was sometime in 2004. There were some inquiries regarding constructing a new home and the provisions for, building a garage and where they could access curb cuts. Reaffirm staff's opinion that this was an improved alley and that they could either go off of the alley or they can go off of reuse the existing curb cut on Leclaire. There's some, back and forth. We met with the applicants, I believe it was last year, February or March, and they there's some discussion. I believe the appeal came in, or they wanted to appeal in October, November. The application was received. We sorted through everything. The packet was submitted, fee paid, and scheduled for tonight's meeting.
Okay. With that, we'll get into the full staff report. Was available to you, but you'll have the opportunity to get a more kind of full report on the zoning administrator's reasoning behind that after the appellant makes their argument first.
Okay, great. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Hi. May we have your name and spell it, please, so we have it for the record?
Sure. My name is Rolando, R-O-L-A-N-D-O.
Okay.
Acosta, A-C-O-S-T-A.
Okay.
I'm the attorney for the applicant, or the appellant.
All right, very good. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Mr. Acosta, if I may real quick. Can I swear you in?
Sure.
All right.
Will your client be providing any testimony? Anyone who might
Yeah.
provide testimony, stand up.
So I guess you two. I think do you need their names?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll get that all out of the way right now. Hi, good evening, sir.
Hey, how are you? My name is Sabino Olteanu, O-L-T-E-A-N-U.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Roman Bujday, R-O-M-A-N, B-U-J-D-E-I.
Okay, very good. And, all right, so you three gentlemen will be the ones speaking tonight. Okay. Do you affirm that the testimony you are about to give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge or belief? Please answer in the affirmative.
I do.
All right, great. Anybody not answer in the affirmative? No. Okay, great. All right, gentlemen, please sit down. Mr. Acosta, go ahead and please proceed.
It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you for considering this matter and taking time and listening to our position. I don't know if in the PowerPoint or the slideshow, there's a photo of the alley in question. I do have.
There is. Mike will bring it up.
Okay, can Michael bring it up? That would just be helpful, so I don't have to try to describe it. So, as you can see, this is the alley to the rear of the subject property. The issue before you, as very capably stated by your corporation counsel, is whether this alley is improved. So we're going to spend some time talking about the word improved within the meaning of the Skokie zoning ordinance. It is our position that an alley that is gravelled with some vegetation in it is not improved. The ordinance, at least to my research, doesn't have a definition of the word improved. The ordinance also refers, people who are trying to interpret it, to the International Building Code, which doesn't have a definition of improved. It refers to the International Mechanical Code, which perhaps understandably doesn't have a definition of improved since that's a mechanical code. So we're down to the ordinary meaning of the word improved. Counsel stated before, if there's a true ambiguity, kind of tie goes to the appellant, but That'll be up to you to decide whether there's an ambiguity. We have, in order to investigate whether this condition is in fact improved in the common meaning of the word, we've taken various steps to do that. So the first thing we did was consult with Sabine, who was born in, who is a licensed professional engineer, who worked for 11 years in the village of Skokie, up through 2022, and asked him his opinion. And as submitted as part of what we provided with our application, his opinion was that this alley is not improved, that essentially you need a more extensive surface than what you can see before you here. We then consulted Eric Sanchez, who's another member of who's a current member of the Skokie staff, another professional engineer, who he took the position that gravel is not an improved surface. Essentially, we need asphalt, concrete, permeable pavers, something other than what we consider gravel and open. We've also consulted, and that was not in our packet, so I want to make sure the council has no objection, but we've taken another step, and I have copies for you. So let me just dig through my pile. We consulted another engineer, Kelsey Taylor. This is by email, so I can distribute for the board.
Corporation Counsel, will you allow this new evidence to be presented if there's copies for each and every
Yeah,
individual?
if you have copies for all the members, and if you can provide a quick foundation on it,
Sure.
then the board will determine the weight and credibility to provide to it.
Thank you.
I think so.
Brian, did you get one?
Yeah.
I made 12, so hopefully that,
Counting to see if we had enough for everyone.
All right, just for the benefit of the record, what we've received is a copy of an email dated January 7th. It's an email exchange, and it is from Kelsey Taylor of Engage Civil, let's see here, Engage Civil Incorporated, to the appellant. So the original exchange was November 17th. It includes 1 page of text and 3 pages of photographs. Mr. Costa, if you'd like to give some foundation on this.
sure. So Kelsey Taylor is a professional engineer with the firm, as stated before. He was contacted by the appellant and asked his opinion as to the condition of this alley and whether he considered it to be improved or not improved. And as you can see from the email, because he actually stated in the email that he couldn't resist, so he came and visited the property, looked at it, took some photographs of the condition, which, if you see the photographs, look very similar to the one that's up on the screen, and then provided a response to Roman's original question as to whether this is improved or not. And basically his summary is that under modern standards, this is not what he would consider an improved alley. So that just buttresses, from our perspective, the opinion of Saban and Mr. Sanchez that I previously mentioned. In addition, so I'm going to try to move quickly through this so that we provided as part of our application minutes from the Plan Commission of August 17, 2023, which was a hearing on actually the ordinance that's in question here. And on page 2 of those minutes, it says that there are unimproved public alleys that are in bad condition and full of ruts. If you read that in the context of the conversation that was going on, they're talking about graveled alleys. So that is at least our interpretation of that. I've actually reviewed the tape. You can review it also. There's been a link provided to you, I know, for this. But if you hear this, some of the concerns that Roman has, he's not trying to be difficult, but he has concerns about locating a garage on what is a gravel alley. So snow removal, cleaning, maintenance, etc. And some of those concerns were expressed during that hearing. And it seemed that the Plan Commission itself was interpreting a gravel alley not to be an improved alley. We've also provided a copy, one page, from CDOT, Chicago Department of Transportation manual, that talks about unimproved, what they consider to be unimproved. And as an example of something that they consider to be unimproved is a gravel alley. So we thought that was pertinent to provide for you. Then we provided an actual case. It's a slip and fall case, but a lady fell in a gravel alley, sued the city of Evanston for damages. Her name was Gutstein, and the case was heard. I think there was a favorable decision on behalf of the plaintiff. It went up on appeal, and in the context of the case, I believe on page 2, so I provided the full opinion. It was known as a memorandum of opinion. Your counsel can explain that, but that means it doesn't get fully reported, but I provided it. And on page 2, it indicates that Evanston refers to an unpaved alley as unimproved. So back again to gravel doesn't equal improved. We need asphalt, we need concrete, you could use permeable pavers, you can use cobblestone, if someone would like. So we've got the CDOT manual, we've got the court case, we've got 3 engineers, and we've got some examples. Now, I assume that the presentation I'm about to see from staff is similar to the staff report. So I'd rather than back and forth, just sort of give some responses to what I saw in the zoning administrator's staff report and submittals. So the staff seems to take the position that virtually any improvement, any change, becomes an improved alley. And so by that standard, if we had compacted dirt, we'd have an improved alley. A dirt road would become an improved alley or street if it was the case of a street. We think that's overly broad. We think the code means more than that when they use the word improved. So long as they also point out that so long as it's drivable. Well, again, back to my dirt road example, it could be a natural condition where the ground has been compacted just by people driving over it. It would be drivable. That can't be the definition of an improved alley. The goals of the ordinance, there's nothing against the ordinance, we think are laudable. But they think they can be satisfied. This is a unique situation. The property already has a driveway. They can use the existing driveway. Really what they want to do is relocate it from Leclaire to Morse. So it's not that the ordinance is a bad ordinance, we just think interpreting any change to the condition of the alley as improved is overly broad and creating a bad situation here. I found it interesting that in presenting this ordinance, the staff, looking back at the report, gave as an example the Code of Santa Monica, California. So again, you may want to get a ruling on this, because I decided, curiosity gets the best of me frequently, to do what I'm not a millennial, but I was acting like one, and go into Google and see what the condition of alleys are in Santa Monica, California. And so I went into Google, and my kids have trained me to be a good millennial, and asked it a simple question. Are Santa Monica, California alleys paved? And I want to hand these out, if I may, and explain them as council has previously instructed me on the others.
Yeah, so this appears to be an AI summary to a question, an AI summary generated by, I'm going to assume, Google, are Santa Monica, California alleys paved? There's a page of text, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages that appear to be from Google Earth that show both aerial views and street views of buildings that sure look like they're in California. So once again, it will be up to the zoning board to determine what weight and credibility they want to provide to this. And if you have any questions about that, and if you want to dispute that, that is absolutely fine.
So essentially, the question that's presented on the first page to Google is mine. The response is the AI-generated Google response, for what it's worth, I'll say. And then what I did was, using Google Earth, I went to Santa Monica, because it was a little tough to drive there, to fly there today, and looked around. You can go Google Earth Street View, looked around to see what the conditions of the alley, to see if the AI response that I was receiving was in fact borne out by some, give it, electronic visiting of the area. And I took some images from Google, and there's really 2 alleys that I'm showing. One is on Amherst. The first page is just a view down the alley, which seems to be a very nice, permeable paved alley. The second page shows the direction of view from the aerial photograph of the situation. The green that you see to the upper left-hand corner here is the Brentwood Golf Course in Santa Monica. And the arrow shows the direction of the alleys, just so you get a sense of where I was taking the photo, or extracting it. The second is a Westgate, an alley in Westgate. You can sort of see in the little corner, and here there's 3 of them because I was trying to give you context so you understand where I'm going from. But there's a bit of a golf course that you can see. Again, it's the Brentwood Golf Course in Santa Monica. This is Westgate and I put the arrow in the wrong place, it's actually Darlington. But looking down the alley, you can see, destroyed your mic, the view down the alley, and you can see that essentially Santa Monica, which was used as an example, is working off of paved alleys. So that's really the relevance of all of this. Is the example used when they adopted the ordinance was of a municipality that has paved alleys. And, I am speculating because I don't know what they were thinking, but I'm thinking that they were thinking of an improved as a paved alley, which would be inconsistent with our engineers, CDOT, the court opinion that we have. Go ahead, sir.
Have you looked at cases in Illinois and Cook County?
In terms of improved alley?
Yes.
Yes, so that was why we cited CDOT, because that's the Chicago Department of Transportation, where they actually do the reverse.
Okay.
They didn't define an improved alley, they defined an unimproved alley as gravel.
Okay.
And I wouldn't have gone to California except for staff did it when they were drafting this ordinance.
Okay.
Which again, it's a good ordinance, it's just, our opinion, perhaps a little broader than it should have been. And then lastly, I think the other thing that was notable on staff's presentation or report was the opinion of Russ Reichfeld, if I haven't destroyed his name, who is the Director of Engineering for the Village of Skokie. And he writes emails and gives you examples of unimproved alleys, actually alleys that are platted but have nothing on them. Some of them you don't even have access to them. I think other photos he showed you. And what he basically takes the position that any continuous surface, be it gravel, stone, asphalt, is an improved alley. And what I noted most from his statement, and it's at the end of his email, is the word continuous. So we don't really have a continuous situation. You can see from the photograph that essentially we have 2 rows of gravel that someone could drive down, but you have vegetation on both sides and in the middle of the area. So not quite continuous, at least in our view. That is a summary of our position, we are all happy to answer any questions that you may have.
You could do questions for the appellant now, or you could wait for staff's presentation. It's really up to the chair how you want to handle it.
Would staff like to go ahead and make their presentation at this particular time, or does anybody on the board have any immediate questions for Mr. Acosta at all, or would you rather wait until staff gives their presentation?
I'm ready to give opinions, so I think staff should give their presentation, because I'm ready to
Yeah, let's
dissect
hold,
this
yeah, let's
thing.
hold off on any sort of deliberation until we hear both sides of the story. All right, staff.
Okay. In this case, because the staff is the adverse party, I'm going to ask something that may be a little bit unusual, but we're going to ask that staff be sworn in.
Okay, very good. Is that Mr. Wojtek and Mr. Augustine both?
If whoever's going to be presenting information and...
Both.
Yeah, both, yeah.
Okay, so both of you?
Yeah, well, yeah, yes, I'll hit some points in the report. I won't read the report word for word. I'll hit some points, and then Mike's gonna show just some examples that we've had. The bullet points in here are basically different points from the staff report, so
Okay.
Mike may do some speaking too.
Okay, well, that being said, so we know that you're both here, we know what your positions are with the village, so we know who you are, we know how to spell your names, so we don't need that. But do you affirm that the testimony you are about to give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge or belief?
I do.
Yes, I do.
All right, thank you, thanks, Mike, thanks, Bryce. Okay, please proceed.
Okay, again, I'm not gonna, the staff report was, presented and submitted into the record. I'm not gonna reread the entire staff report. Applicant's trying to construct a, new single-family home at the subject site, and has shown interest in obviously not, either discharging the garage to the alley or the existing curb cut. Staff, when the report was, I'll get into a little bit with the background of the case, that it was at the August 17th, 2023 Plan Commission case that staff presented a report to the Plan Commission to help support the adopted environmental sustainability plan. The text change, as I read in, previously, access to off-street parking can only be from a public alley, curb cuts are prohibited unless the lot does not abut a public improved alley, and relief may only be granted for mixed-use business or industrial properties. Some of the goals listed are in the staff report. There was, I know, some discussion by the applicant's attorney about the discussion at the Plan Commission, what was, described as improved or unimproved. At no time during the Plan Commission meeting was improved or unimproved, requested be further defined or included in the amendment. It was understood that, majority, my understanding, that, unimproved, improved in regards to Skokie alleys, encompasses a wide range of different materials, from pavers, stone, gravel, concrete, and asphalt. I also know that the applicant did mention something about if there's any improvement, would a dirt alley constitute an improvement over a grass alley? I'm not in the engineering division, but to my knowledge, there are no dirt alleys in town that have public works vehicles drive back and forth over to pick up garbage, but there are stone, asphalt, cement, and permeable pavers or paver alleys that's done. There are also, approximately, I think some of the research we did, there's about 20 alleys that are legally alleys that are platted to eventually, that were eventually platted to be public alleys that serve parcels at the rear, but no improvements have ever been made. Public Works has never improved them with some sort of stone material. They do not cut, some of the vegetation in the alleys. Now, albeit, not every alley is in perfect condition in town, was never the intent that, never the intent that it has to be a perfect alley to be an improved alley. But, there has to be some improvements made, for vehicular access, pedestrian access, so you're not driving, in a dirt alley, or, public works vehicles can get by, your standard car can drive down it, So that's, Mike will show some examples of, an unimproved alley or a couple unimproved alleys that are slated to be vacated in the future. There'll also be several examples of just standard alleys, stone, pavers, I believe cement, that'll be shown in there also. I do, want to, the applicant mentioned Russ's email with the continuous gravel the continuous surface. And again, to reiterate the point, not every alley is perfect in town. There are some alleys that are continuous stone if you go a block or two away, and there are some alleys that are continuous from curb cuts to curb cuts or apron to apron with stone, and there may be a little strip down the center that has some slight grass or slight vegetation. I would also like to point out that was in the staff report, the email from Michael Lochner, the Public Works Streets and Alley Supervisor. In some of the notes when, for some of the improvements that are done for the stone alleys, in this case, per the email from Michael Lochner, the alley was graded on June 27, 2025. What exactly the details and how much improvements were made, he didn't get into detail. I don't have that information. But when the alley is, when they do grade an alley, they note that they scarify the center of the alley. That's typically to cut or remove some vegetation. In all cases, is all the vegetation completely removed? Based on my research, no. There's numerous alleys in town that clearly have a little bit of a strip. Some have it more so than others. They load, then they'll take the debris out of the alley, load it onto a dump truck, then we put one dump truck load new stone into the alley, level it out, usually with 2 or more passes. Alley trimming, which I know is happening typically during the winter, and per his email, that's reiterated every winter, we clear the alley from encroaching plants and trees so cars and truck can make it through without being hit by the branches. I know this is a big issue because in the Building and Inspection Services Division, they will hear complaints regarding there's stuff growing into the alley. Public Works does that, from my understanding and per Michael's email, every winter. And there's just a note about when the alley trimming, will be starting, and grading is typically started and done in spring or summer of every year. I don't have anything else to reiterate or discuss. If there's any questions, Michael just shows some examples of some standard paved alleys, some cement standard alleys, some standard gravel alleys, which I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe a majority of the alleys in town are stone.
Just to preface everything, my name is Mike Boydick. I'm a planning coordinator with the Village of Skokie. I've been the lead on the alley vacation program starting in 2004. When I first came to the village in 1999, I was tasked with identifying all alleys that were potential candidates to be
Okay,
vacated.
Mike, if we may real quick?
Yes.
You want to speak into the mic a little better? Sorry. Yeah. I know it's not easy, the mic's short and you're tall.
It's on, his mic's on.
Okay, you are on though.
Okay, so at that time, I did a full research study of all the alleys within the village. We looked at alleys that were used for traffic, alleys that were not used for traffic. We had many alleys that were fenced off. Neighbors were using them as part of their residences and maintaining them as such. And I believe we found over 130 of these alleys that were potential candidates for vacation. This relates to the slides here in that we do have examples still that have not, of alleys that have not been vacated. They are, in our opinion, unimproved, not accessible to vehicular traffic. I do have examples here of both the improved alleys as we interpret them and the unimproved alleys. And there's a night and day difference between what can be considered from our perspective as improved versus unimproved. I'd like to go through some examples of those. This is just an aerial map of the subject site. We've looked at that photo already. This is the subject alley, showing an alley that contains a stone surface that is maintained by the Village of Skokie. It's accessible to vehicular traffic. The technical term is a alley return at the end of the street. So that's the concrete paved portion, typically surrounded by curbing on both sides. That allows entry to the alley, whether it be a stone surface, pavers, asphalt, concrete. This is the means of getting into that alley from the public street. And this street, this alley is used for refuse and recycling collection as seen by the toters that are kept along either side of the alley. Another improved alley example is at 5200 block of Greenwood Street. A similar situation, other than we have an asphalt combination, concrete paved alley return leading into a stone surface that carries through all the way to the next street. This is also maintained by the Village of Skokie, accessible to vehicular traffic. As I mentioned, there's an alley return present. We can see the toters on the side of the alley for collection.
What do you mean stone surface? The alley has stones on it?
So,
Weren't there already stones on it before?
so gravel, stone, it's interchangeable in that sense. Public Works tends to define the gravel as, they call it stone. So when they come in for a refresh or a grading, they apply the stone from the dump truck, and the surface you're seeing here is a stone surface as opposed to a concrete paved surface or an asphalt paved surface or paved blocks.
So what did they improve? They put a different kind of stone on the alley?
No, it is stone. It's crushed stone. You could call it gravel, you could call it crushed stone, but it's like aggregate that is applied, and it's the entirety of this alley has this stone surface that's applied.
So it was already stone before? When it was built, it was stone?
It's since the alley's been open, and we've got alleys that were platted in the 20s. The majority of the village was platted in the 1920s, and most of these alleys have this stone surface within the village. We do have alleys that have been upgraded with concrete. We have alleys that have been more recently upgraded with the permeable paver block. But this alley is representing a typical alley within the Village of Skokie.
Okay, so this is not an improved alley by your definition?
This is an improved alley.
What
It's
was-
an improved
what-
alley example.
Sorry, what was improved about it?
The addition of the stone.
But you said it was built with stone.
It was, the stone, when the alley was put in, the stone was applied as a surface to allow for vehicular access through it.
And as mentioned
I
in
don't
the,
follow, but
and it's mentioned, as mentioned in the email from the Streets and Alley Supervisor, there's maintenance that happens on a yearly basis. You don't just lay the stone down and leave it for 20 years. There's further improvements that have been made with the cutting. There's stone gets put down, there's leveling, there's other improvements made to the stone. It just doesn't come down, the stone wasn't put down 80 years ago and then left for 80 years.
Right. Just as a street is resurfaced, stone is reapplied over time. There was a mention of ruts, so ruts do happen in stone surfaces.
I think the confusion is, when it was originally started, it was probably dirt, and the improvement is the stone.
he said it was, when these alleys were constructed, they were started with stone.
Nothing started with stone. I'm sure it starts
When we
with
built
dirt.
this alley, this was a,
1965, there was dirt, and somewhere along the
okay, because I
line-
recall you saying it was stone when it was, these new alleys were built, like this one in particular, it was built with stone, with
It was-
gravel.
It was surfaced with gravel.
Okay, so when it was built, it was surfaced with gravel.
Surfaced
Thank you.
with stone, yeah.
It wasn't dirt.
It was, the improvement was the application, and it was an improved alley by having a gravel/stone surface. This is an example of another alley. This has been reconstructed with paver blocks, and it has like a concrete shoulder with an asphalt return. It is maintained by the village as well. It's accessible to vehicular traffic from the street, and it's also used for refuse and recycling collection. This is an example of another improved alley. Older pavement, you can see the cracks. It is a concrete paved alley in the 5100 block of Sherwin Avenue, maintained by the Village of Skokie, accessible from the street, both directions. The alley return is present, leading right into the pavement of the side street, and it is also used for refuse and recycling collection. And now we go into some examples of unimproved alleys. This is located on the 9500 block of Lockwood Avenue. We're looking south from Frontage Road to a dedicated alley, so this was platted in the 20s, for potential opening, was never opened, at least the northern half was not. It's covered with grass. The neighbors are maintaining it. There's no cars coming in here, there's no garages leading off of this grass portion of the alley. There is no formal alley return present. Refuse collection, recycling collection, as you can see, is off of Frontage Road. The truck does not drive down the grass to pick up the residents' refuse or recycling.
So if an alley, like in the previous example that you had that was paved, if an alley falls into disrepair, such, if there becomes potholes and cracks get bigger, at what point is it then considered, it's an alley in disrepair? It's not, when something's improved, it's improved until it falls into disrepair, correct? So once the alley falls into disrepair and it needs, new pavement or fill the potholes, then at that point, would that still be considered an improved alley?
It is still improved, it just needs some maintenance.
Even if it had it was an alley built 50 years ago, a paved alley built 50 years ago, and today it's the same pavement, but it's all cracked and torn up,
So
it would
just
still be considered
This example or something worse than this?
something worse than this, for example.
By virtue of paving it, either gravel, concrete, asphalt, it has been improved with a surface that a vehicle can travel down.
Because
The condition of it,
I guess it's just my thing is when you construct something in the village, let's say you build a building, it's considered a new building. But then as it falls into disrepair, as it ages, there's ongoing maintenance of the building, but you don't necessarily consider that building always, it was improved, it's considered improved, it was built 100 years ago. Maybe if they did do some big capital campaign to improve the building, but.
Understood. Mike, please go ahead and continue with your presentation.
so back on this slide, the south half of this is gravel. The gravel terminates at a garage, so the southern portion of this alley is accessible to traffic. And then there are some channel posts that restrict further vehicular access beyond that into this northern portion that we're looking at. So this is an interesting situation where you have a portion of the block has an improved alley. It's fully accessible. The village can get back there. The public can get back there to the garages. The northern half, roughly, was never improved out to this frontage road at the north end. This is a candidate, this particular area is a candidate of an alley that we want to vacate. We have no intention of opening this up. We don't intend to extend this alley further out. We don't intend to improve it to provide further vehicular maneuverability access out to frontage road from where it currently terminates. This is an example on 5100 block of Suffield Court. Looks like somebody's side yard. There's actually an alley there between these two houses. It was platted in the 1920s. The alley was never built. There's an alley running behind these residences. And then on paper, it's an L-shaped alley, so it would have run across and then turned south and connected to Suffield Court. Never put in. There is no alley return here. A car could not get into this area without driving over a curb. This is an example of an unimproved alley. It's covered with grass. 8400 block of McCormick Boulevard. There's a gas station on the corner of Main and McCormick, if you're familiar with that area. Immediately to the north of that fence, there's an alley. On paper, between this fence and that two-flat, there's a 16-foot wide dedicated public alley that runs from McCormick Boulevard to the north-south alley in this block. Never been opened, never been improved. Can't drive on, can't turn from McCormick Boulevard into this alley. There's a curb there. There's no trash being picked up in there, not being maintained by the Village of Skokie. The residents to the north are using this as part of their side yard. Another candidate for an alley that we'd want to vacate. So this is another example of what has not been improved within the village. The village is not coming out. We're not cutting the grass even. We're not putting down gravel. We're not paving. We're treating it, the neighbors are treating it as a portion of, an extension of their property. That concludes my slides.
Okay. All right, all done, Mike?
Yes.
All right, very good. Okay, Bri, anything else you want to add to this, or at this point?
At this point, no, just I'll make one last point. The submittal by the applicant noting the AI summary, it says generally paved, it is an AI summary, it's not, there's nothing definitive from Santa Monica. I definitely agree that a lot of these examples are paved alleys, but I don't know if there's anything more to that than it's, in a rough summary of what it anticipates the Santa Monica, alleys are generally paved. Other than that, no other comments.
Oh, okay. All right, so I think we're okay to start opening the floor to questions here. Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
Can I ask the aerial pictorial view of this property that in question, so we get a better idea what the impact is? There you go.
There it is, yeah.
Okay.
Was there something you wanted to address as far as that?
No, just wanted
the
to get
aerial?
a better view of
Oh, okay.
how it's being impacted or that.
Okay, that was simple
Okay.
enough.
Well, I think, looking at,
Commissioner Arden.
looking at this, look, improved to, clearly this definition of improved is not defined in the ordinance. If they want to go off of a specific definition, go back and define it. But I'm uncomfortable the direction of the village taking to, I know the administration has its hands tied. They have to interpret this ordinance that's very, I think we could all agree, vague and ambiguous. And so, and they're asking us to then interpret it in our opinion. An improvement to me is an enhancement. When you have a car, you buy a new car, but then how did you enhance it after the purchase of the car? Not that, the car was bought improved, that was when you bought the car.
I think you're misinterpreting the improvement is a term of art in this case, meaning something has been done. It's not a merit of how much has been done, or is it a great, if it's beautiful, or if it's, the best improvement you can make. An improvement is something that has been done, as opposed to nothing having been done. So I think you have to look at the word improvement in a different way.
Well, that could be your interpretation of it.
I don't think that's.
Well,
I think that's my interpretation. I think that's what it is.
Well, you think it's, but in this ordinance that they have here, it doesn't specify that. So I'm just looking at the text of the actual ordinance that they have, and.
I'm sorry, I'm a lawyer, and that's, to me, an improvement is something that is on the property.
Okay, well.
I'm not,
reading the
it's not
ordinance.
the quality of what's on the property.
Okay.
It is the fact that there is something on the property.
Okay, well, I'm just reading the text of the ordinance, and I think that it's up to our interpretation, how do we want to define, improved?
I would just ask that for a clear record, that the zoning board members raise their hands, be recognized, and then, just because if a transcript has to be prepared, it'll be very useful.
For the record, that was Commissioner Kirkpatrick and Commissioner Arden that we just had the tete-a-tete here with, so.
Our nameplates are here, but I can't announce my name.
It's right in front of the dais.
before.
Is there any other questions or comments by, yes, Commissioner Strauss?
I have a question for staff. What percentage of alleys are stone, gravel? What percentage are concrete, unimproved grass?
That's I mean, it'd be a good trivia question. I can't give you the exact amounts. That would probably be best answered by Public Works, as they have logs on this.
And
But
Brian had mentioned like the majority are
it's definitely the majority are gravel.
gravel.
Gravel's-
Correct. I inquired with Russ Reitfeld, to the Director of Engineering. He did not have a specific number for me and couldn't give me a full breakdown, but also stated and reiterated what staff is, as far as I know, Mike and myself have known, that majority of the alleys in town are stone or gravel.
And then to kind of go to the original change in the zoning code, I mean, their intent was to reduce stormwater reduction into the streets, and pedestrian-friendly loss of green space by adding driveways, and loss of street parking by adding the driveways. So if majority are consider are stone, then the intent of this, I feel, would be kind of, if this would be considered, if gravel would be considered not improved, the intent of that change in code would be kind of irrelevant, allowing majority of people to add a driveway in the stone, add a driveway. So, I mean, I feel like the intent of the original code was that this was an improved alley.
Yeah, I mean, Brian, I just have a curiosity, these are very unique cases, so to say, it seems. Would you know off the top of your head how many of these we get in a given year, people who are recutting their curbs, or want to recut their curves? Or is this like a first?
How many, I'm sorry, I need a clarification on the question.
Do we have like, I don't know, rough, is this a common occurrence, or is this the first one since 2023 where someone wants to recut a curb in front of their house, I guess reposition the driveway?
Is this the first occurrence where someone wants to remove a driveway on one side and move it to the other side?
Yeah, is this, how
Where
many
they
of
abut
these,
an alley?
like, how many of these do we get a year? Is this?
I honestly couldn't tell you. I don't have that information. I know for a fact there have been some additions completed or new houses that have reused the existing curb cut. I couldn't tell you how many, there's not many, but I could not give you a number as to if there was a driveway removed on one side and relocated to another street. I couldn't give you a number.
Now, I know in this case, we're just, we're trying to determine is the alley improved or not, but it is interesting. I mean, the petitioner said they are, that curb, they're essentially, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you're moving it, so the other one would be filled in. You're just replacing one with the other. It just seems, and if this isn't really even happening in the village, it's interesting. There's not like an epidemic of people doing this, that they'd even pass like a rule about this. Like there's mass flooding because everyone is adding new curb cuts or something. I don't know.
I was just responding.
Mr. Acosta.
I was only going to respond to his question, trying to do it on the record,
Yeah.
so that Mr. Weiss doesn't have a hard time figuring out who yells from the audience. But yes, that's correct. There's a current driveway on Leclaire. It will be removed,
It would be removed and.
and then there'll be one built on Morse.
Okay.
And the only point of clarification is that although this would definitely impact the appellant's eventual submissions and building plans, that the interpretation that would be made tonight would be considered precedential and would apply going forward.
So if we grant them their request and there's no other, they get what they want, we wouldn't, if we don't grant them this request, they could go to court and we have to pay to litigate this issue.
Well, the point the specific point I was making is that if whatever decision you make becomes the rule about how improved alleys are defined going forward, not just for this case, but other cases.
Oh, so this will set a precedent.
That's, yeah, when we're talking about interpretation, it really is, if you find there's an ambiguity and you either reverse or affirm, that will be the precedent going forward until this ordinance is further amended or clarified.
Understood. Now, just a quick question on that, though, because usually with these zoning cases, I mean, there are findings of fact for each case, and I guess this is a little different because, we, don't always, we've had in the past, multiple petitioners come to us asking for something, but based on the findings of fact, we may grant it to one and not the other. But you're saying in this unique circumstance, this is, whatever we decide tonight will be how the village will interpret this code until it is further defined by the plan commission, was it? or
Yes,
something?
and that's what's unique about this, that this is not an application, although we've defined the case as 6900 Leclaire, this isn't really about 6900 Leclaire. It is how this particular term was interpreted, and it obviously will impact this case, but then it becomes the kind of the standing interpretation going forward. So that it is definitely unique.
Yeah. However, let's not forget that this, down the road after this case, if the village chooses to reinforce the ordinance by making a greater definition, more definitive of what a, unimproved or improved alley is, they can go ahead and do so right away, so.
Interesting.
But, yeah, so it's not like this is going to be the way it is from here on out. It's the way it is from here on out until another change is made.
Okay, thank you.
So this is precedent setting just for this case.
Okay.
So it makes it, in that way, it makes it unique.
It does, yes. I had that.
Yeah. Jay?
Yeah, so I had two questions. The one, our attorney just answered that this is a precedence we are setting on this one. The second one is access to garages in the rear is very common in Skokie. How many of the houses have the access to garage through this alley?
On which street?
On the current alley we are talking about,
The
the
east-west
one
alley?
that will be impacted.
I believe a majority of the homes on Morris do not access the alley.
Okay?
There are definitely, I believe, several on the block to the north, which I'm not 100% sure which street that is right now, that have access to the alley. Their garages have access to the alley.
Okay. Because if they are going to close up one part of the existing right now and open up the other side, would the rest of the traffic still would have an access?
Would the rest of the traffic have
People
access?
going to the improved alley.
Everyone would have access still to that
Okay.
alley.
It's only
That's,
to their-
I just
garbage
want
is
to make
picked-
sure.
Yes,
that-
garbage
that
is
would-
picked up through their village vehicles, yes.
It's only access to
I
the
I
property.
understand that. I just want to make sure that we're not affecting the neighbors.
Did the neighbors write any letters, or?
Go ahead.
Well, notice is not given to the neighbors in this case
Okay.
because it's an appeal to an interpretation. We published it in, I don't know if it's the Skokie Review, the Tribune, as prescribed by the ordinance, but no notification is necessary to the neighbors. It's not a variance.
Understood, thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Mr. Acosta, did you have something you wanted to add?
Well, I was just going to try to add some additional information to the board member's question about garages.
Please, go ahead.
So, and I'm happy to share this. Unfortunately, I only have one, but it's, actually, I only have one. So most of those, for the block here, so we're talking Leclaire to Laramie, Morse, and I'm forgetting, I think it's Quorum maybe, is the northern street. Most of this block, on Morse for sure, has driveways from Morse. There's a few homes to the west, closer to closer to Laramie, that have garages from the rear. But most of those are actually facing Quorum. There's one house that has a unique circumstance. It has a garage in the rear, but also a driveway in the front. So if we were to move this driveway to Morse, we would sort of be consistent with the pattern on the block. And I think there's a photograph that I provided with the application that kind of shows the view west from this site. You can see all the driveways lining up.
Commissioner Kirkpatrick.
I was just wondering that, especially for the newer developments, do the developers contribute to concrete driveways if they want their units to have access that way? Or does this village do that? Or does the developer put it in and then the village maintains it?
For an alley, the village would, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, the village would have to implement that for an alley. We don't put in portions of an alley and improvement and leave the rest of it.
I'm thinking like on Keeler, just south of Dempster, there's townhouses there, and I believe I go back far enough it wasn't concrete, I don't think, before those townhouses went up.
Well, I have one in mind that would be a more recent also situation, Floral Avenue, going back 10, 15 years ago, phase 1. So where the bowling alley used to be, where the cleaners used to be, as part of that development, the developer put concrete pavement over what was at the time a stone surface from Cleveland down to Brown. That's just behind where those, not townhouses, where the houses were built. As you go further south, I believe it still remains stone. But that's a very unique situation in town. But in that instance, the developer had put in that because they had to provide some underground storm detention to drain the development into the village's system underground. But again, very, very unique situation.
Yeah, that was a part of the requirement for the development. A typical single-family home doesn't have to put underground detention. They don't go out to the combined.
You mentioned the Laramie townhouses. Is this White Frontage Road?
It's between Keeler and Kedvale, just south of Dempster. There's townhouses, and I believe the alley was not paved before those were built, but I was just wondering if the developer does that, because I don't believe we have that many paved alleys, and I was wondering if...
They're more common in commercial areas. You'll occasionally see some paved alleys, either the paver block, which is newer, or concrete paved alleys. You'll find them here and there in residential areas. But you'll definitely see them, say, parallel to Dempster. You've got commercial blocks fronting on Dempster Street. Behind those commercial blocks, those are typically concrete paved. But I mean, that was done years ago, probably the 50s. And presuming that those, came in to provide drainage, there are inlets at, say it's a T alley, there'll typically be an inlet there to provide drainage, whereas in a stone alley, you don't have that drainage structure underground. But I would say most of the residential alleys remain stone, gravel, however you want to term that.
Great. Anybody else have any questions?
Just to confirm,
Commissioner Arden.
businesses are exempt from this, but people who live here, their personal property, are not exempt from this rule? Is that, did I read that correctly?
Give me 1 second to clarify.
So residents, people who own homes here have to follow this
subject.
rule, but
Right.
people who.
In regards
businesses
to relief can be granted for mixed-use business and industrial properties.
Understood.
All right. The chair will go ahead and speak about this now. There's certain things in our packet that was emailed to us which almost resembled something out of War and Peace. All 59 pages of it. I don't think I've ever seen a packet for one individual case go 59 pages, but yet there it is. And it was interesting that Mr. Acosta mentioned it, because it was one of the things that I actually zoomed right into when I was reading a lot of this, was actually on page 29, which happened to be the minutes from the Plan Commission meeting, where it specifically says in there that that quote, some alleys have protruding vegetation that make it difficult to pass through. There are unimproved gravel alleys that are in bad condition and full of ruts. When I see those words, unimproved gravel alleys, my senses went off right then and there, showing those three words, you know, to me said a lot. You add that in with the Chicago Department of Transportation definition, which is on page 32, and then about unimproved. Any portion of the public way which has not been paved in accordance with city standards and specifications, including but not limited to gravel roadway, WPA streets, and asphalt or gravel sidewalks, driveways, and alleys. So again, you know, that's the definition of unimproved. And then also too, we had there was a memo that was bandied about, and you know, it could be said that it was taken out of context. But it was the one from February 7th of 25 with Mr. Sanchez from the Village of Skokie, where he specifically said that gravel is not an improvement. So I saw that too. So in total, what we seem to have here, and I think Commissioner Arden is alluding to it as well, is that there's ambiguity in the ordinance. And I think what really needs to happen, and I think the plaintiff has done a wonderful job of exploiting that ambiguity, and I think what needs to happen from here on out is that the village has to very definitively, succinctly, and implicitly state what the difference between an unimproved and an improved alley is. And that's the way I feel. As Corporation Counsel is.
Yeah, I mean,
typing
it's,
furiously.
you know, I completely agree with you, Brian. You know, if you have an alley that's, I mean, people will obviously see it, you know, some people obviously see it differently, but, you know, I mean, just to me, I mean, my parents have lived in Skokie over 30 years, you know, they have a gravel alley. I mean, sure, every so often they put new stones on it, but I mean, it's pretty much the same. They certainly wouldn't consider it improved from when they bought the house in the 80s.
Yeah, I myself, and I'll kind of buttress your statement right there. The 5100 block of Jerome and Birchwood have a concrete alley in it. My alley is a gravel alley. The Public Works has to come by every year. They got to grade that thing, scare it or scar it to get the vegetation out, and re-improvement. You know, otherwise it falls into disrepair in a very quick amount of time. So, you know, quickly goes from being improved to unimproved without, you know.
And that was sort of was trying to
Yeah.
allude to with, you could have a paved alley, but then if it falls into disrepair, is it still considered an improved alley?
And I understand what Sharon was saying. She says, once it's done, it's improved. But that being said, I go back to the actual verbiage that's within the ordinance
Yeah.
itself, and there's nothing there saying what an improved or unimproved is. We can debate about,
Yeah, we could.
the longevity of improved or, does it fall into disrepair, therefore it's back to being unimproved? That can be bandied about, but again, we have to concentrate directly on what the ordinance
Yep.
says. And personally, I think staff's hands are tied in this situation.
Absolutely.
Okay? Because it's not, they have to do what they see fit as, bringing forward the case. And I admire it, I can comprehend it, but again, I go back to the letter of the law, and the letter of law isn't there.
Yep.
So,
I agree.
any other? Yeah, Commissioner Strauss.
I mean, one of the standards of interpretation is the goal and purpose of the zoning ordinance. So kind of going back to my point where if then all gravel alleys are considered unimproved, that would, to me, that defeats the purpose of the change in the code.
It does.
Understood. And that's why the code has to be amended with
I
very
agree- I agree
stringent,
with that.
with very stringent,
I do agree with that,
specific,
yeah.
literate language spelling out exactly what is.
And Brian,
improved and
I
unimproved.
believe you had mentioned during the original plan commission change, who was it you said that was talking about the unimproved?
Oh, it was page 29.
Yeah, but
and-
Brian, I thought you said that was brought up by the staff, the attorney, or what?
No, it was in the Plan Commission approved summary minutes. So it was actually in the minutes of the meeting itself.
Who actually said that?
Oh, who actually, it just says some commissioners. Some commissioners commented that some alleys are in better condition than others. Some alleys have protruding vegetation that make it difficult to pass through. There are unimproved gravel alleys that are in bad condition and full of ruts.
Can you?
So it just says some commissioners.
I don't have it in front of me. Could you keep reading the
Mike,
next sentence?
do you mind we could bring that up if you want to see
Yeah.
we could bring that up. It's part of the, if you escape out of this, one of the PDFs I have open, just so everybody's on the same page and can read the same thing. One of the, on the bottom. Yeah, one over to the right, left, right. They're already open. That, yes.
Under the PowerPoint?
No,
Yeah. I've got it here.
What?
Page 29, right. Yours is different, because it was before the Evanston lawsuit. Because he had the Evanston lawsuit, then he had the COD abbreviation and
page-
definition.
It might be page 29 on the full packet.
Okay. There you go, I think that's, okay, yeah, that's probably that page. There you go, there you got the cursor on right now. Because it's in that top paragraph there. That's where they mention unimproved gravel alley. See it? That very first paragraph?
Brian, can you zoom in more? on that?
Sorry.
I don't feel well.
You don't feel well?
I'll be okay.
Okay, all right. Yeah, okay. We'll consider that an abstention. Yeah, at the next meeting. Right, okay.
Can you zoom in more, Brian? Sorry, I can't see it. Yeah, so so it talks about public works needs to improve after it talks about the unimproved gravels, then it says public work needs to improve alleys to minimum standards before the ordinance is written. Was that ever done? How was that addressed?
Every alley in town was not,
Yeah.
I can guarantee every alley in town was not further improved after this case went before the planning commission. In staff's opinion, have there been improvements made to alleys since then? Yes. This specific one, I can only go off what Public Works noted.
So again, I feel like the intent of this code was that this is an improved alley.
Is there any other questions, comments?
Maybe
Was-
just a general, I don't know if it would be right to,
Would the petitioners like to close with anything, Mr. Acosta?
Sure.
Not that you necessarily have to, but.
No, I'm not a lawyer who likes to talk, so I'll make it brief. And it's late enough already. But I think that the important thing here is that the issue really is about this particular alley. I understand the presidential value, but for example, some images were shown where I saw a graveled alley that had much less vegetation, had a much flatter surface. One could make a distinction between that situation and this situation. And in terms of the other one I'd like to address is in terms of the purposes of the zoning ordinance and the purposes of this ordinance. Please remember that the four purposes that were identified for this ordinance was being pedestrian friendly. Well, we would take a driveway off of one street and put it on another. I mean, we're not impacting the pedestrian friendliness of this particular block. We're actually matching the pattern, just if we were not to use the alley. Stormwater detention, same thing. We're kind of substituting one paved area for another paved area. Lawns, front lawns, well, everybody else has it. We'll get a side yard out of this that we won't have today. And I can't remember the fourth thing. The fourth item that was in the conditions. Pardon me? Stormwater, so that's my point being that we right now have a paved driveway that we could use because the ordinance actually exempts existing driveways. So it doesn't apply to as many properties as people think, because most of the people who have I suspect, most of the people who have gravel alleys have driveways from the front. So we're really talking about new construction on a piece of property that has no driveway that it would apply to. But that is my summary. I
Right.
thank you all for your time.
Yeah, thank you. This is going to be a little bit different, as Corporation Counsel mentioned. What we'll do is we'll actually have a motion and vote on the Corporation Counsel to prepare an order either affirming or reversing the interpretation. So to affirm would be to side with staff. To reverse the interpretation would be to side with the petitioner, who's here tonight for that very reason. So the chair, if there's no other questions for the petitioner or for staff, then the chair will entertain a motion. Anybody care to entertain a motion as to the affirming or denying the appeal of the administrative decision?
So what I would ask for is that you would vote to direct me to do one or the other. And then I bring back the order and you make a final vote. I am asking for a roll call vote because I think that this is not going to be unanimous either way. So just for the purpose of the record, we know, I know if we've got 5 votes one way or the other.
Okay, I'll move, since
Okay.
it's always better to affirm and then vote it down. So I move to affirm the administrator's decision.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Kirkpatrick to affirm the administrative's decision. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Okay, I got Commissioner Strauss's seconding the motion to affirm the administrative decision of Commissioner Kirkpatrick. Okay, motion to... Okay. All right, then the chair will go ahead and take a roll call vote on this. We'll go ahead and we'll start down that way. Commissioner Strauss?
Affirm.
Okay. Commissioner Kirkpatrick?
Affirm.
Okay. Commissioner Worth?
Affirm.
Okay. Commissioner Jacobson?
Affirm.
Okay. Commissioner Arden?
Deny.
Denied. Okay. We'll pause it here. Commissioner Trivedi? Denied. Commissioner Putras?
Deny.
And the chair will vote deny. So in the case of affirming the motion to affirm the decision of the administration has been denied, do I hear a different motion to perhaps?
So the motion to affirm, what was the vote split? Was it?
4-4.
4-4. Oh, because we lost somebody. So, yes. Okay. So the vote for a motion to affirm, to direct me to prepare a decision affirming failed.
So
Yeah, there's no other option.
is
So would
make a
someone like to make a
deny
motion
the administrative decision.
to reverse the administrative decision, and we'll see what happens with that then.
Okay. Would anybody like to make a motion to deny or to dismiss the administrative decision?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to dismiss the administrative decision.
Okay.
Specifically to reverse.
To reverse it, yes.
Yeah, reverse. It's a better contextual word. Okay. Decision. Okay. Okay, so the second one, okay, so we got a motion to reverse the administrative decision by Commissioner Arden. Do I hear a second on this?
I will.
Commissioner Trivedi? Okay. Commissioner Trivedi seconds. Okay, then the chair will go ahead and call the roll. Commissioner Salovey. So we're voting on the motion to reverse the administrative decision.
Yes.
So if
an aye means reverse.
Right.
A nay means not to reverse.
Right.
Okay.
Got it? All right. So that being said, all right, Commissioner Putras?
Aye.
Aye, right, okay. Commissioner Trivedi?
Aye.
Okay. Commissioner Arden?
Aye.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Jacobson?
Aye.
Okay. Commissioner Worth?
Nay.
Okay. Commissioner Kirkpatrick?
Nay.
And then Commissioner Strauss?
Nay.
Well, the chair's going to vote aye,
Okay.
so.
So I have direction now to prepare an order for your next meeting in 2 weeks, at which point you will have findings of fact that reflect the discussion. I will do my best to distill the arguments in favor of reversing, and you will be prepared that in your packet. You will have a chance to discuss it if you want to amend it or revise it. Before you take a final vote on it, at your next meeting, you'll have that opportunity. Thank you very much for your patience and your diligence tonight.
All right, just to, on the record again, you're going to make a motion to reverse the decision.
Yes.
Okay, that's it. All right, thank you so much. I know that this was kind of an unprecedented circumstance, so I would, is there any public comment that I have out here in the audience, other than the petitioners that were here tonight? No? Okay. That being said, as Corporation Counsel mentioned, and that I believe we have slated already, our next meeting will be January 21st, 2 weeks from today, and we do have 2 cases.
That's correct. We have 2 cases for that evening.
Okay, plus we will vote on the order that Corporation Counsel will prepare reversing the administrator's decision. So, that's it. If there's any other questions or anything? If not, then this meeting of the Village of Skokie Zoning Board of Appeals is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.